The spine-chilling truth about your husband's haunted past. Discover the sinister secret exposed. Jessica stood frozen on her porch, her heart pounding like a drum in a funeral procession. The dawn swallowed the lingering shadows of night, but the silhouette of dread still loomed in her gut. She had thought this perfect life her loving husband Mark, their joyful daughter Lily was a fairy tale. But a haunting chill prickled the back of her neck as she eyed a tattered envelope resting on her welcome mat. Inside, old photographs revealed masked figures, their distorted expressions glinting in the early light. Newspaper clippings detailed a cult, lurking in the town's dark past, whispers of blood painted the headlines. She staggered back, nausea curling in her stomach like a snake. As autumn descended, nightmares plagued her. Shadowy figures danced through her slumber, their whispers echoing cryptic messages that twisted her dreams into grotesque parodies. In those dreams, their silhouettes morphed into familiar shapes, always leading her back to Mark. He often worked late, elusive like ghostly humidity sneaking through the cracks of an old house. The warmth of her perfect life now felt hollow. Every creak of the floorboards echoed with menacing foreboding. One drizzly evening, she shared her rising anxiety with Tom, their neighbor with a penchant for local lore. His eyes darkened when she mentioned the cult, as if a damning weight hung on his words. "Not everything is meant to be dug up, Jess," he warned, his voice a low whisper. "Some things remain buried for a reason." But the urgency of truth gnawed at her like a rat. What was she missing? Before she could check her unease, a clap of thunder crashed through the nighttime air. Lightning lit up the attic. Driven by a mix of fear and curiosity, Jessica climbed the rickety stairs. In the dusty, forgotten corners, she discovered a hidden compartment inside an ancient trunk. Inside lay chilling relics, masks, ritualistic tools, and an old, leather-bound diary. Each page overflowed with details of dark ceremonies, chillingly echoing the tales she'd heard in passing. A name stood out, a name she recognized: Mark. Racing back down, adrenaline coursing through her veins, she confronted him, her hands trembling, words tumbling from her lips. "Mark, what is this?" But the shock on his face quickly morphed into rage and fear as he admitted the truth. "I was one of them, Jessica. Part of something greater. We sought power from the darkness." A deafening silence consumed their home. Just then, a horrific thump resonated from the backyard, causing them both to freeze. The lights flickered ominously. "Lily!" Jessica shouted, rushing to the window. Her daughter stood in the garden, her small frame wreathed in shadows, back turned and whispers spiraling from her lips like a serpent's hiss. Jessica felt a cold sweat trickle down her spine. "What's happening?" she gasped, searching Mark's eyes for answers, but all she found was panic. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The whispers intensified, spiraling into a cacophony, drowning out the storm. As Jessica's breath quickened, she faced Mark, who stood paralyzed, his eyes wide with terror. What dark forces had he summoned? Uncertainty gripped her heart like a vice as the shadows crept closer. Would confronting this twisted past save them, or consume them whole? The answers hung between them, thick with dread. Jessica sensed time slipping away. The ground beneath her family was cracking, and a crack of lightning illuminated the darkness in ways she never wished to see. Jessica's heart raced, the air around her thickening with an unspeakable dread. The wind howled like a trapped beast, and the shadows lengthened, merging with the darkness creeping from the edge of the garden. Lily's back remained to them, a small figure caught in an unsettling dance with the dark. The whispers grew louder, swirling like autumn leaves caught in a tempest. "Mark!" she cried, her voice fragile yet laced with desperation. "We have to get her inside." But Mark stood frozen, his face pale, as if the very blood in his veins had turned to ice. Jessica, she's not right, he managed, his voice trembling, eyes wide with an awakening horror. The longer she stays out there, the more of what? She spat, panic gripping her throat. What have you done? A surge of anger clashed with her fear. Memories of their happy life crashed against the cruel reality creeping through their home. As she reached for the door, Mark caught her wrist, his grip tight enough to send a jolt of pain up her arm. Don't. You don't understand. Lily turned slowly, her face obscured by darkness, illuminated only by flashes of distant lightning. Mommy, her voice, barely a whisper, was both sweet and chilling. Mommy, come play no. Jessica screamed, jerking her arm free. She bolted toward the door, the raw fear driving her every step. But just as she reached the threshold, Mark's voice pierced through the chaos like a knife. Jess. You can't. They're calling her. What? She spun around, bewildered. Who's calling her? What do you mean? The ground began to tremble, a subtle vibration, like a heart thrumming with ominous life beneath the soil. The whispers morphed into a chorus, filling the air with a resonance so dark, it stung. Stay back. Mark shouted, but his warning came too late. A figure emerged from the shadows surrounding Lily, the outlines shifting and pulsating, a grotesque sight that clawed at the edges of Jessica's sanity. No, Jessica gasped, stumbling back as the figure took shape, revealing a twisted face masked in horror and malice. Who are you? What do you want? Lily's innocent giggle cut through the storm, a harmonic taunt that wrapped around Jessica's senses like a vice. They want to play, Mommy. Her eyes glinted with an unnatural gleam, reflecting something ancient and unfathomable. Mark stepped forward, voice a desperate plea, Lily, come back. It's not safe. But Lily's laughter grew intoxicating, cascading like haunting music, drawing her deeper into the dark embrace of the figure. No. Jessica screamed, lunging for her daughter. Just before she reached Lily, time ground to a halt. The shadows rushed in, enveloping them, tendrils reaching out like gnarled fingers. As the dark figure loomed above, Jessica snatched Lily's hand, but the child's grip was impossibly strong, cold and unyielding. Desperation swelled in Jessica's chest as she felt herself being pulled into the darkness. Mark. She cried, her voice breaking. Help us. Silence. They stood in a void, surrounded by the pulsating shadows whispering secrets lost to time, drowning in a sea of terror. And then, a thunderous clap tore through the air, the storm amplifying beyond anything she had ever witnessed. Suddenly, the distorted figure whipped around, uncertain, as if it felt something it didn't like. In that moment, a faint light flickered in the distance, illuminating something Jessica never imagined she would see. The cult. They were here and marked with a symbol she recognized all too well. Jessica Mark's voice was hushed, a warning cloaked in helplessness. We need to run. But where could they go when the very ground beneath them was shrouded in darkness? As hands stretched toward her, Jessica frantically wondered, was there still time to escape their cursed fate, or had they already crossed the line that separated the living from the dead? The shadows whispered the answer, a chilling reminder that sometimes the past won't stay buried. And in that heart-stopping moment of dread, she realized that no matter how far she ran, the truth may be hiding in the darkness that surrounded them, waiting for the right moment to strike. Jessica felt the icy grip of the shadows tightening around her. Each whisper seemed to claw at her sanity, begging her to release Lily. The cultists approached, their faces obscured, but their intentions were as clear as the lightning that split the sky. Mark, we can't stay here. Jessica shouted, panic tightening her throat. Each syllable trembled in her chest, echoing the fear that clawed its way up her spine. She pulled at Lily's hand, but it was like trying to free herself from a vice. No, Mommy. Lily giggled again, her voice dripping with delight. They want us all to play. Play. Mark's voice quivered, disbelief weaving through every word. Lily, it's not a game. It's dangerous. He reached out, his gaze darting from the figure looming above them to the cultists edging closer. Lily turned to him, her face partially shadowed but glinting with an unnatural sheen. "You're wrong, Daddy. They're not dangerous. They're friends." "Friends? Are you out of your mind?" Jessica screamed, feeling the mounting dread begin to suffocate her. They were losing her. Losing everything. Without thinking, she lunged forward. "Lily, come with me." She yanked, the force of her desperation sending chills through her body. But the moment was lost. The dark figure reached out with a hand that shifted and morphed, a grotesque amalgamation of limbs, drawing Lily closer. Jessica felt the warmth of her child's hand slip from her grasp, pulling her to the edge of a yawning abyss. "No." Mark's voice thundered through the chaos, but his movements were hesitant, caught in the web of fear that had ensnared them. Jessica could barely breathe. With each second, the shadows advanced, their whispers swirling around her, taunting her with fragments of long-buried secrets. "Come play with us," they hissed, voices bleeding together, echoing cries from beyond the grave. In a moment of sheer desperation, she turned to Mark, her eyes wide with terror. "We need to fight this. We have to," but before she could finish, the world shook violently, the very ground cracking beneath them. The figures around them froze, a moment of hesitation that hung heavy in the air. A flash of light struck down, dissolving the darkness if only for a second. Jessica glimpsed their faces, twisted in glee and madness. They were pallid, eyes wide like black holes, mouths smeared with crimson as if they had tasted life and death too freely. "Lily!" she bellowed, dread rooting her to the spot. As the shadows writhed, their hands clawed toward Jessica, cold as winter frost. "Help me!" Mark cried, suddenly fierce. He tore himself free from the creeping shadows, darting forward. Jessica's heart pounded as he reached for Lily, desperation spurring him on. "Stay away from my daughter!" he roared. But instead of moving towards them, Lily turned her icy gaze on Mark, a fierceness that was terrifying to behold. "Daddy, you don't want to be left out." Time twisted in that instant, the storm above howling with fury. Lightning illuminated the cultists, faces unmasked, features distorted as if they were pressed against glass, longing to escape, to join the ancient chorus that promised play and oblivion. Jessica felt the air around her thicken with a palpable dread. She could see it now, glimmering and dark, a past that churned just beneath the surface, longing to be unleashed. "Mark! We can't stay. They'll take us, all of us," she shouted, her voice drowning in the chaos. But in the guttural turmoil, she saw Mark's resolve falter. For one chilling moment, it seemed as if he'd been entranced, caught between their daughter's innocent plea and the horrifying reality enveloping them. Unable to breathe against the suffocating weight of terror, Jessica knew then that leaving was no longer an option, it was a necessity. And as the shadows began to merge, the screams of friends and foes alike fading into an unsettling blend, she felt a chilling truth settle in her bones. "What if this is where it all ends?" she whispered to herself. The ground beneath her cracked open further, an unending abyss now yawning wide at their feet. And as the darkness surged forward, consuming the last remnants of light, Jessica realized the darkness wasn't just a consequence of their actions, it was a cornered predator, hungry, waiting for the final moment to consume its prey whole. Jessica's heart raced as she stared into the abyss, its depths swirling with shadows that promised an eternity of torment. The cold tendrils of darkness reached out, wrapping around her ankles, pulling at her relentlessly. "Mark, please!" she screamed, desperation echoing off the walls of her fear. Her eyes darted from the cultists to Lily, who now seemed so far removed from the child they knew. Lily's laughter rang out, eerily sweet, and it sent shivers scuttling down Jessica's spine. "Why won't you join us? It's fun." Her innocent face twisted into something unrecognizable, elongated and pale, like a discarded doll brought to life by a cruel spirit. Jessica wanted to scream, to shake her daughter awake from this nightmare. "Don't you see what is happening?" she cried, pleading with Mark, who remained transfixed, staring at Lily with a mixture of love and horror. They're twisting her. We have to rip her away from them. Mark blinked rapidly, as if awakening from a long sleep. Lily, sweetheart, he began, but the shadows laughed louder, drowning his voice in wicked glee. The cultists moved, filling the space around them, the chanting growing heavier, deeper, dreamlike and nightmarish at once. Suddenly, everything shifted. The sky darkened further, and the winds shrieked, swirling fragments of memories Jessica thought long buried. Her mother's anguished cries, the scent of smoke from their burnt childhood home, the sharp bite of betrayal, each fragmented echo cut into her consciousness like a knife. Jessica staggered, trying to maintain her grip on reality as she felt the ground beneath her pulling. "Mommy, it's okay." The innocence in Lily's voice cut through like a razor. "They just want to play." Mark's expression twisted. No, it isn't okay. We have to get you away from them." He extended his hand once more, desperation igniting in his voice as he beckoned her. Jessica felt the heat of his conviction, the warmth of fatherly love breaking through the frostiness of despair. But then Lily's laughter turned sinister, the sound twisting into something grotesque. "You can't take me. I'm too busy having fun." Jessica's stomach dropped as the shadows lunged forward, and in that instant, she realized Lily was not just the child they sought to save, she was becoming an agent of the darkness. "Lily, fight it!" Jessica shouted, her voice high-pitched, raw. "Remember all the stories? The light? The love?" And the shadows paused. For a brief flicker, doubt speared through the darkness as if probing at an unseen weakness. The chanting faltered, and Jessica clung to that moment, using it as a lifeline. "Please, Lily. Come back to us." She stepped forward as the ground cracked beneath her, a deep fissure forming that mirrored the rift in their family. Suddenly, she felt a tug, a surge of energy from Lily that pulled at her heart. Mark lunged again, this time more determined, more furious. "We're not leaving without you." But before he could reach out, an explosion of darkness erupted, displacing air and breath alike. The cultists hissed, their eyes glimmering with rage. "You cannot take what is offered." They screeched, their voices mingling into a maddening cacophony. Jessica's blood ran cold. The shadows shifted violently, their forms writhing, pulsating, hungry for her family. They were no longer just faceless threats, they were echoes of grief, longing, and ancient hunger. Suddenly, a disembodied voice, powerful yet whispering, resonated from the depths of the void. "Only one can remain. Choose." The atmosphere crackled as Jessica's mind spiraled. Every instinct screamed against the impossible choice before her. "Mark!" she shouted, terror wrenching her heart. "What do we do?" The ground quaked violently beneath them, and the abyss opened wider, revealing depths of an unfathomable darkness, ready to consume everything in its path. Just as it seemed despair would swallow them whole, a blinding light burst through, slicing through the shadows. But what if that light was only the beginning of their torment? The blinding light flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced around Jessica and Mark, distorting their surroundings like a fever dream. It pulsed rhythmically, an irregular heartbeat that infiltrated Jessica's senses. For a moment, hope surged through her veins as she believed this radiance might banish the darkness once and for all. But with the flickering came doubt, gnawing at her mind like an insatiable parasite. What if it's a trap? She wondered, her thoughts darting to the stories of light leading souls astray. She shook her head, the warm light encasing her in a fragile cocoon. "Lily." Mark's voice broke through the haze. "Can you hear me? We're right here." Jessica strained her ears. Lily's giggles echoed, now muted, almost sad. The shadows writhed, pulling at the edges of the light, trying to reclaim their territory. "Stop!" Jessica cried out. "Stay in the light, Lily." But Lily emerged from the pool of darkness, her eyes glimmering with an unnatural shine. "Mommy, I don't want to go back. That's boring. This is fun." Mark recoiled at her words, his disbelief palpable. "Lily, please. It isn't fun." It's evil. The abyss roared again, and the remnants of voices from the cultists spiraled in hostile flight, shrieking in furious protest. She belongs to us. The wind swept through them, swirling like a tidal force, trying to separate Jessica from Mark. The ground bucked, and she stumbled, grasping for anything to hold her ground. No! She shouted, reaching for Mark, her fingers grazing his hand only to be yanked back by a sinister force. We'll find a way. Just hold on. They were teetering at the edge of something dark and powerful, a chasm that threatened to swallow them whole. Suddenly, Jessica felt a shadow creeping up her back, a cold kiss of dread that clawed at her mind. You will lose her, Jessica. A voice hissed, low and guttural, crawling out of the blackness like a serpent. Your bond is weak. Lily. Mark screamed again, voice trembling. Fight it. Remember the picnics? The stories we told? Those are gone, Daddy. Lily's voice trailed off, an echo pulled into the void. This is so much better. Jessica's heart twisted, feeling the suffocation of despair closing in around her. Fight it. She cried again, choking on her fear. You are stronger than this darkness. But with each plea, the shadows melded, morphing into grotesque shapes that twisted and curled menacingly. They whispered frantically, filling the air with sinister promises. Your love cannot save her, they whispered. Your love will seal your fate. The words clung to Jessica like ivy, creeping into her thoughts. She felt their icy fingers scraping at her resolve. No. No. She yelled, shaking her head violently. She had to believe. She had to believe in her family. Then, she remembered a story she had told Lily countless times. The greatest light can shine from the darkest places. She shouted, pouring every ounce of strength into her voice. You can fight back. You are our light. The shadows recoiled for a moment, flickering as if wounded. Yet, to her horror, they surged once more, hungry and relentless. Jessica! Mark shouted, terror seeping through the cracks of his bravery. What do we do? The landscape swirled, and for a split second, Jessica glimpsed the frail figure of Lily trapped within shadows, eyes wide with fear. Mommy! She screamed, her own laughter sinking into sobs. Jessica felt the ground beneath her feet trembling with urgency. The choice loomed larger than ever. I'll save you, sweetheart. I want to let them take you. But before Jessica could reach out again, a blinding flash seized her vision, engulfing the shadows entirely. And in that searing radiance, she saw a glimpse of a sepulchral figure cloaked in shadows and fire, beckoning. Choose. It thundered, the voice of the abyss echoing in her very soul. Jessica's heart raced. Who would she have to leave behind? The light flickered once more, a jarring contrast to the darkness clamoring for her family's souls. And then, a chilling realization gripped her. They weren't just fighting for Lily, they were fighting for their very existence. Mark, what if we have to sacrifice a part of ourselves? She whispered, her voice wavering on the brink of anguish. The ground shook violently, the darkness lurching forward, and just as dread washed over them, something shifted at the edge of the abyss. Lily's laughter, now tinged with madness, resonated through the chaos. Choose wisely, the darkness waits. The question hung in the air, a suffocating weight. What would they sacrifice to save their daughter? Would they sacrifice everything? The light flickered, the shadows whispered. And the abyss beckoned them closer. Would they close the rift or would they plunge into the depths? Jessica's breath hitched in her throat, each heartbeat echoing in the silence surrounding them. The figure in the light pulsed, its shadowy form shifting, almost alive. She squeezed Mark's hand tighter, their fingers interlaced like a lifeline thrown into the dark, but his grip felt weak, trembling under the weight of despair. I don't want to lose you. He gasped, his voice barely a whisper, swallowed by the chaos. Then hold on. Jessica replied, fighting against the growing sense of impotent dread. She could feel the shadows threatening to pull them apart, inching closer with their whispered promises of eternal darkness. We'll find her. Together. But the reality of those words began to gnaw at her insides. How much longer could they resist? Panic flared, a desperate flame burning against the encroaching shadows. She turned her gaze to Lily, still lost in the depths, her laughter a chilling cadence against the storm. Lily. We love you. You are loved. The darkness twitched, as if pondering the power of Jessica's words. Was this the crack they needed? Come back, sweetheart. You're our light. Suddenly, the sepulchral figure surged forward, its cloak billowing in a turbulent wind, consuming the space around them. Choose. It commanded again, this time with a ferocity that sent a shake through the ground. Mark staggered beside her, his face pale and pained. What does it mean? What do we have to sacrifice? Jessica's heart raced, sweat pooling at her temples as she glanced from Mark to Lily. I won't let this darkness take any part of us, she vowed, fear and determination crashing together inside her. But deep down, uncertainty crawled. She could sense it, the weight of a choice looming ahead. What if we have to sacrifice more than just a memory? More than just? Mark's eyes widened, and in that moment, they shared an unspoken understanding. They knew the darkness would demand something deeper. What if it meant letting go of not just their daughter but each other? As lightning cracked overhead, illuminating the swirling shadows, Jessica felt a pang of urgency. Lily. She cried again. Your spirit is stronger than all of this. Fight, baby. Come back. The shadows recoiled as if scalded, but then swirled aggressively, defiant against her plea. You know this is the end, the voice hissed. With each moment spent in this light, you only lose another piece of yourself. Jessica's knees threatened to give way as terror washed over her. How many more pieces? How could they carve up pieces of their souls? We won't back down. She shouted into the swirling void, her heart hammering furiously in her chest. We'll fight to bring you home. In a wild moment of clarity, Jessica's eyes met Mark's. The weight in her heart shifted, she could feel that primal instinct rising. They would not break. They had to trust in their love, the very thing the shadows wanted to extinguish. Then she noticed something, an echo within Lily's laughter, something distinct. There was a part of it, a shivering desperation buried beneath the haunted giggles. The tender joy they shared was still there, yearning to break free. Lily, can you hear me? Tap into the love we have. Jessica cried, tuning every fiber of her voice to hold Lily close. The shadows thrashed violently, a horrible hiss enveloping them. Love isn't enough. The abyss screamed, dark laughter echoing. Then let our love be the weapon. Mark shouted back, his voice laced with cold fury. A cascade of light erupted as if challenging the shadows to fight back. Mark and Jessica locked gazes, daring the void to consume them whole. They squeezed each other's hands even tighter, igniting a warmth that surged within them. Lily's voice chimed softly through the chaos, catching in the balance. Mommy, I feel you. The world shifted, a ground opening beneath them that felt more terrifying than anything they had faced. Hold on tightly, Jessica urged, knowing there was now an unpredictable choice at hand. Would they tether their futures together, unyielding against the dark? And there, at the precipice of their fate, they stood. Ready. But just as they were about to leap forward toward the light, a deafening roar resounded, a shattering scream echoed through the night, crashing against their ears. Choose now or lose her forever. The shadows taunted. In that moment, the light flickered one last time, casting eerie shadows across their faces. What would you sacrifice? Jessica's heart stopped. That question hung in the air like an icy hand gripping her throat. Mark, she breathed, fear prickling the skin on her arms. But his lips were moving, almost a silent answer. What price would they truly pay? Reality had never felt more fractured, the weight of the dark abyss circling them hungrily. Suddenly, an intense silence fell. The decision awaited, a knife's edge between the radiant light and the ravenous shadows. Would they make the choice to plunge into salvation or face the darkness head-on, knowing that losing Lily might mean losing themselves, that they could be no more. As the shadows pulsed, a sinister whisper caressed Jessica's ear. Your fate is sealed. And in that heartbeat of clarity, Jessica's dread knotted tighter. What would they leave behind? And more importantly, would they ever escape? A chill ran down Jessica's spine, adrenaline coursing through her veins as she wrestled with the overwhelming dread that suffocated her. The air vibrated with the whispers of the shadows, clawing at her certainty. What is it, Mark? She demanded fiercely, the desperation clawing at her throat. What do you know? Mark's eyes flickered with pain, a conflict raging inside him. I think the shadows want us to decide quickly. They aren't just after Lily, they want us, Jess. All of us. They thrive on our fear. Then we can't give in. Jessica flashed back, panic making her voice tremble. Whatever they want us to choose, we must resist. But an unsettling knot twisted tighter in her stomach. What if the shadows were right? What if love alone couldn't save them? The shadows rippled, tentacles of darkness reaching out like grotesque fingers, mimicking their fears as they took shape. Jessica could almost see their twisted faces, skeletal and blank, echoing their inner despair. She swallowed hard, fighting off the nausea rising within her. Lily! She screamed, her voice splintering through the dark. You have to fight. We're coming for you. Each repetition of her daughter's name felt like tossing a stone into the void, but she saw a flicker in the swirling darkness, a heartbeat in the chaos, almost like Lily's silhouette dancing just outside their grasp. Mommy, help me, the words sliced through the air, help me. It wasn't Lily's natural voice, but a distorted imitation laced with dread. Jessica's heart crashed against her ribcage, her mind racing. Was this the voice of their daughter lost to the night, or merely a snare the shadows laid for them? Do you hear that? She whispered to Mark, heart in her throat. Lily is still there. We can save her. But as Mark opened his mouth to respond, the ominous figure loomed closer, darkness swirling around it as it spoke. Your love is futile. Your child belongs to the shadows. Jessica's resolve began to crack, the shadows creeping deeper into her thoughts, poisoning her with doubt. What if they truly couldn't win? What if love wasn't the answer? I can't let you take her. Mark shouted, and in that surge of anger, a spark of defiance blazed within him. We will fight. Will you sacrifice your own life? The abyss countered, mocking their struggle. Or maybe her life for yours? A piercing scream erupted from Jessica's throat, both horrified at the thought. No. We would never. Then what will you give? The shadows hissed, their unity lining up to pressure them with churning threats of eternal darkness. Tears streamed down Jessica's cheeks, hot and fierce. What do you want from us? She cried, desperation bleeding into her voice. Your souls or Lily's spirit. Choose now. Mark's grip tightened, fingers digging into her skin. Don't listen to it. It's just trying to confuse us. We're strong together. But the confidence in his voice faltered, and doubt crept in like cold air. Jessica's mind spun as she battled against the rising tides of despair. What if we are too late? And then, through the oppressive dark, an idea sparked. Wait. Mark. What if before she could finish, the shadows surged forward, wrapping around them like a vice? Bright flashes of light pierced the darkness in unsettling bursts, and in those flashes, old memories surged. The laughter of a younger Lily echoed, illuminating the shadows briefly, but just as fast, the darkness swallowed them whole once more. Jessica gasped, realizing too late that her hope was being twisted against them. Mark, stay with me. A final roar erupted from the shadows, ready to engulf their fragile hope. The ground beneath them cracked. Light flickered, the torment of lost love tearing at their souls. If they didn't choose soon, would they lose everything? Choose now or be consumed. The shadows thundered. Lily. Jessica shouted, terror bursting forth from the depths of her being. But would they face their faith with action, or let shadows define their fate? Jessica clutched Mark's hand, heart racing. As tremors rattled through her body, she realized their moment was vanishing. It was a race against the consuming void, and in that moment, she was gripped by the cold truth: the hardest choice was yet to come. How far would they stretch the boundaries of love and sacrifice? Would they discover hope or succumb to eternal darkness? Would they tumble headfirst into despair or dare to seize their chance? Jessica felt the darkness closing in. Mark, she breathed, eyes wide with fear and determination. Jessica. He replied, echoing the urgency that screamed between them, we need to decide now. But could they ever truly choose between love and loss? The abyss rumbled, waiting, eager to consume them whole. And time was quickly running out. Jessica's gaze darted around, the penetrating darkness pulsating and merging into horrific figures just beyond the edge of her vision. The whispers grew louder, wrapping around her like tendrils of smoke, each word a knife laced with venomous doubt. Choose or die, Mark. She gasped, fear clawing at her voice. What do we do? We need to keep thinking. He barked, shifting his focus to the shadows swirling closer, eyes widening in terror. We can outsmart them. Before he could finish, the weight of despair intensified, the air thick with an almost tangible malice that threatened to crush them. Jessica squeezed his hand tighter, her heart hammering wildly against her ribs. She could feel it, just beneath the surface, the shadows were toying with them like a cat with a captured mouse. Suddenly, a chilling laugh echoed through the darkness, each note twisted and mocking. Will you really fight for the girl, or will you save yourselves? The shadows shifted, morphing into images: toys scattered in a sunlit room, a picnic spread in a vibrant park, Lily's bright smile frozen in time. Stop it! Jessica screamed, wrenching herself from the visions of happiness that only amplified her horror. Each memory felt like a dagger plunged into her gut, twisting deeper, reminding her of everything at stake. You don't own our memories. But we own your fears, dear mother, the shadows hissed, a cacophony of voices intertwining as grotesque faces swarmed her thoughts. What if we took away your memories? What if you awakened and found nothing but despair? No! Mark shouted, eyes flaring with determined anger. We want to let you do this. A sudden pang of realization sliced through the fog in Jessica's mind. The shadows didn't just want Lily, they wanted to destroy the very essence of what made them whole. If they broke their connection, severed their memories, it would render them powerless. The thought ignited a fire within her chest. Mark, listen. We don't have to choose, we can fight together. Balancing between the weight of their fears and the spark of hope, Jessica felt her resolve harden like steel. If they want our souls, they'll have to take us both. As if sensing the shift in her determination, the shadows recoiled momentarily, hissing in agitation. She stole a glance at Mark. His face, though drawn tight with fear, reflected the glimmer of fight that flickered in her heart. Mommy. The voice of Lily broke through the murky air again, wavering as it beckoned from the shadows. Please help me. Jessica's heart twisted painfully in her chest. It was Lily's innocent call, but laced with taunts. Mark, they're using her voice against us. She needs us. The shadows are lying, Mark murmured, hesitation creeping into his voice, but she saw flames of conviction light up in his eyes as he tightened his grip around her hand. Together we push back. Jessica shouted, stepping into the darkness, channeling her love for Lily into a tangible force. She could feel a swell of heat surrounding her, a power drawn from their shared memories, their collective will to survive the laughter, the tears, the moments exchanged like currency of hope. The shadows began to shriek, morphing into towering figures that splintered after each step they took forward. No. You can't. Jessica could feel her pulse quicken, adrenaline pumping through her as she fought against fear. This ends now. Come back to us, Lily. Suddenly, the air around them vibrated as if the very fabric of reality were shifting. The innermost tendrils of darkness writhed and twisted, struggling to hold together as they were threatened by the scorching light of Jessica and Mark's unity. Choose your sacrifice. The shadows roared, their collective chaos swirling violently. You cannot exist in both worlds. Terror changed shape into fierce determination. No. We will not choose. Love conquers all. And then, with a surge that seemed to lift them, hope ignited against despair. The shadows screamed in an unholy crescendo as they were pushed back, yet the chaos threatened to pull them apart at the seams. But was it enough? Could they possess the strength to truly sever their ties with the darkness and rescue Lily? Or would they remain trapped, forever at the mercy of corrupted love? As the shadows lashed out in one last desperate attempt, Jessica braced herself for what might come next. The ground trembled violently, and she could hear the echoes of lost souls wailing, filling the void with a haunting urgency. Jessica's heart raced. Mark were not done yet. With every ounce of strength, they leaped into the depths of darkness, a final stand against obliteration. The shadows writhed, clawing at their souls, and Jessica wondered if love became their weapon, could it clear the darkness that threatened to consume them all? Gritting her teeth, she squeezed Mark's hand, ready for whatever lay beyond the chaos. Would their united hearts ignite a new dawn or plunge them deeper into despair? Jessica felt the shadows enveloping them again, the scent of sulfur burning her nostrils. In that final moment, she wondered, could the abyss truly be defeated with pure love? And as the darkness closed in, a chilling thought haunted her mind. Was this all a step towards victory, or the beginning of their final downfall? The shadows surged like a tidal wave, crashing against them with an insatiable hunger. Jessica gasped against the fierce currents of blackness, the deep, guttural growls piercing through the invasive silence. It felt like they were being swallowed whole, trapped in a visceral dream where every nightmare converged on their reality. Stay close. Mark shouted, his voice barely a thread of sound lost against the cacophony. The ground beneath them squirmed and twisted, each step feeling as if they were walking on hot coals. Jessica's heart pounded painfully in her chest, an unrelenting reminder of their dire circumstances. Lily! She cried, desperation clawing at her throat. We're coming for you. The name echoed into the void, but no answer followed, just an oppressive silence pulled tight like a wire ready to snap. Suddenly, a fierce wind whipped around them, carrying whispers that scraped against her skin like barbed wire. You cannot escape, they hissed, each syllable a chilling caress. Images of darkness surged, screaming faces, twisted bodies, and their own reflected horror magnified in the blackened depths. Jessica stumbled, fear lancing through her. What if she couldn't find Lily? What if they lost everything? Push through. Mark urged, his grip tightening around her hand, anchoring her amidst the chaos. We're almost there. But she could feel the shadows encroaching, creeping like cold fingers, eager to pull them apart. Mark, I can't fight them forever, she gasped, her breath hitching, almost tasting the bitter despair threatening to drown her. Just keep holding on to me. He held his other hand up, trying to shield them from the flickering forms that darted forward. Remember the picnic? The laughter? Think of Lily. Jessica clung to that thought, summoning memories that lit her fevered mind. Lily's laughter echoed, a sweet chime, punctuated by radiant summer days. The warmth of the sun wrapped around her heart as she whispered, I can't lose that, I want to lose that. As they charged deeper into the black, a series of piercing shrieks filled the air, reverberating until the shadows writhed in agitation. You're too weak. Your love means nothing. Pain flared in Jessica's heart as the shadows seized on her anguish, images of failure flashing before her eyes, snapshots of Lily calling out, tears streaking down her cheeks. Mommy, why didn't you save me? No. She bellowed, the pain morphing into fury. The depths of her love surged, becoming a bright beacon that pushed back against the dark. Mark's shout broke through the noise. Jessica. Now. Taking a breath sharp with determination, she wrenched her vision towards the deepest shadow. I refuse to yield to you. You think you can take our love? You are nothing compared to it. Light exploded from their interconnected hands, a blinding column that cut through the inky shadows, revealing a path littered with swirling shapes of fury attempting to coalesce against their assault. The shrieks of rejection fused into a sinister scream that filled the entire void, making her limbs tremble. "Keep going," Mark urged, staggering forward, pulling her with him. They squeezed their eyes shut, forcing their minds to become sanctuaries for their love. Yet, even the light was silenced momentarily by the shadows in furious rage. The push and pull of their power felt almost corporeal. Then, through the chaos, a familiar voice broke through the haze. "Mommy? Daddy?" "I'm scared." Lily's voice twisted through the darkness like a lifeline. "Lily." Both Jessica and Mark cried in unison, a rush of relief and renewed strength igniting in their chests. But would they reach her in time? The ground trembled violently once more as the shape of a monstrous figure loomed ahead, a grotesque embodiment of their fears. Its eyes glowed like coals, filled with malevolence and hunger. Frantic dread bubbled in Jessica's chest as the acclaimed silence transformed into venomous laughter. "You chose love. Now face the consequences." Jessica's breath caught, paralyzed as the shadows shifted. She frantically scanned for Lily, but all she saw was the eternal midnight stretching ahead of them. Would love truly shield them against the hellish darkness? Or was it merely leading them into a dead end? "Mark, we can't stop now," she urged, urgency fueling her voice. "I know. Just keep moving." As they pressed on, the shadows lunged with frightening precision, clawing at the edges of their very existence. Could they overpower the darkness? Their bond felt like it was fraying at the edges, the darkness relentless in its pursuit. With a final thrust forward, they lunged into the heart of the black abyss, praying their love would be enough. The darkness roared, echoing madness in response. "Are you truly prepared to make a sacrifice?" In that haunting split second, Jessica realized what if they had to lose everything to save her? Was the price of love steep enough to cost them their own souls? As the shadows closed in ominously, her heart raced with possibilities. But what would be the ultimate cost? The shadows reached out, tendrils snaking like vipers, intent on pulling Jessica and Mark apart. The chaotic echoes of their despair buzzed around them, a cacophony that felt determined to drown their love in darkness. Jessica squeezed Mark's hand tighter, desperate to resist the pull of the void surrounding them. "Lily!" she shouted, heart racing. "Stay with us. We're coming for you." But as her voice echoed in the ominous air, uncertainty gripped her. What if it was too late? "Fight, sweetheart. We believe in you," Mark yelled, his voice filled with fierce determination. The two parents pressed on, forcing their fear into strength, allowing their love to shine through like a flickering light against the overwhelming darkness. The figure loomed ahead, monstrous in its size, its eyes glowing with a sickly yellow light. "Do you really think you can save her?" it hissed, laughter echoing through the void. "Your love is nothing compared to the power of despair. Don't you dare underestimate our love." Jessica yelled back, her voice carrying a weight of unyielding conviction. Each shudder of fear became fuel, igniting a fire within her. Love is stronger than any darkness you can conjure. The shadows faltered for a moment, as if recoiling from her words. But just then, a cruel gust erupted, surrounding them with whispers that carried echoes of their most painful memories. Lily's first steps, the vibrant sunlit days at the park, moments stitched together by love, now tainted by the taunts of the void. "Give up. Let your fear control you," they shrieked. "Forget her and save yourselves." "Never." Mark spat back, his eyes fierce with resolve. "We won't choose despair." He began to step forward, deep into the maw of the darkness, guided by Jessica's unwavering strength. "Stay together. Remember the warmth of our family," she cried, battling against the binding forces of dread that threatened to suffocate her. With each step, the ground quaked beneath them, a reminder of the chasm heedlessly awaiting their demise. But their connection only grew stronger, feeding off the love and memories they cherished. Would that be enough? Would love banish the shadows that clung so desperately to their hopes? As they pressed onward, faceless figures began to materialize around them, pulsating with a malevolent energy that crackled in the air. Your daughter is lost, trapped in an endless nightmare. Embrace your fate. They hissed, their laughter rasping in her ears, slicing through her resolve. No. Jessica screamed, her voice raw with emotion. Lily is with us. You have no power here. Suddenly, a familiar chime cut through the turmoil. Mommy. Daddy. Help me. A voice sang out, beautiful yet haunting, pulling at the heartstrings. Jessica's chest tightened painfully as Lily's essence drifted like a candle flickering against the storm. Hold on, baby. We're coming. She howled, urgency surging through her system as she moved toward the voice. Mark gritted his teeth, determination sharpening his features. Just one more step, he urged. Fight, Jess. We're almost there. The grotesque figure loomed before them, an unholy smile stretching across its shadow-drenched face. You think you can save her? You will pay dearly for your love. Jessica swallowed hard. Then it's a price worth paying. We'll risk everything if it means Lily's safety. In that moment, light burst forth from their joined hands, a blinding flash illuminating their path and pushing back the encroaching terror. The shadows shrieked, distortions of despair fading against the illuminating power of love surrounding them. Go, push through. Mark roared, his spirit burnt fiercely in the bright illumination. And then they saw her, a small figure, dancing in the distance, caught between the peripheral darkness and the radiant love flooding toward her. Jessica's heart soared, a lifeline of hope. Lily! She cried, as she swarmed forward against the pulling void around her. She could see her daughter now, lost yet somehow still herself. The warmth Jessica felt was immeasurable as she reached out toward Lily, hands trembling with urgency. We've got you. Just a little more. As they approached, Lily's form flickered, shadows lunging forward to snatch her back, embodying the treachery of the dark. Stop! Jessica shouted, every ounce of her being roaring through each word. She belongs to love. Not to you. With a monumental force stemming from their deepest conviction, Jessica and Mark surged forward, the bonds shared manifesting into blazing energy. They dove into the darkness where Lily was trapped, an act of pure love against the overpowering malevolence that surrounded them. The shadows recoiled, a sound of anguish reverberating through the air as they felt the light wash over them, ripping apart their hold and banishing the whispers that threatened to seal their fates. No! The figure screamed, twisting and curling, disintegrating into the bright warmth until only darkness remained, fleeting at the edges. Then a moment suspended in timelessness. Jessica felt the solid grip of Lily's hand linking tightly with hers. She turned to see her daughter's face in those bright eyes. The flicker of innocence remained, a reminder that love could break the darkest chains. Mommy, Daddy. Lily laughed, the sweet sound painting over the scars of despair. Their reunited embrace was electric, heartbeats sinking as the shadows receded like a sigh of relief. The darkness was finally fading. Together, they had faced an insurmountable terror and emerged whole. The storm outside their heart and home quieted, replaced with soft rays of golden light streaming through the cracks as dawn broke over the horizon. Each color promised vibrancy, warmth, and renewal. Never again will we forget this, Mark whispered, tears gleaming in his eyes. We will always remember our love, even amidst the darkness. Jessica's heart swelled. They had conquered the dark, and now new chapters awaited, a future bathed in light, full of laughter, joy, and unyielding love. With Lily cradled in their arms, they stepped into the dawn of a new reality, one where the light would always triumph. They had faced the abyss, emerged victorious, and built a bridge from darkness to a beautiful tomorrow. And as they closed the door on a past riddled with shadows, Jessica felt a warmth enveloping her heart, a connection forged in the fires of adversity that now shone brilliantly on the other side. It was time to journey forward, leaving the past behind and embracing a life where love and family would reign supreme. Now, you need to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that could keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and help bring more heart-pounding tales into the spotlight. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this gripping ending. We want to hear your thoughts. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.